Good evening and welcome to the program The Law of the People and Governance here on Spectrum Television. This is a program that bridges the gap between the government and the people. My name is Rachel David White. Well, today on the program we'll take a look at some of the trends socio-politically that are currently trending and sparking reactions in Nigeria today. And of course, yesterday we discussed some major issues and that had to do with the proposed supplementary budget and of course the words of the retired TJ and Datijo as well. But from today, for today, we'll be looking at another report entirely. But the first is that of a senator-elect for the Kogi Central Senatorial District, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, who was sworn in by the Senate today. Now, this comes after INEC presented her with a certificate of return as the duly elected senator, while Akpoti-Uduaghan became the first female senator from Kogi State after winning the election on the People's Democratic Party's PDP platform. The Kogi Central Senatorial election was held earlier in February, and Akpoti-Uduaghan was declared the legitimate winner by the Court of Appeal, Abuja Division, early on Tuesday. The All Progressives Congress, Abubakar Ohere, the candidate for the APC, filed an appeal, but the court struck it out for lacking in merit. While Ohere's victory as the Kogi Central Senatorial election winner was declared void in September by the Kogi State Election Petitions Tribunal, which was seated in Lokoja. Additionally, the court also ruled that Akpoti-Uduaghan was a legitimate winner of the Senate election in February. Now, Ohere, who was not satisfied with that tribunal's ruling, approached that Kogi State had never produced a female senator prior to Akpoti-Uduaghan's emergence, and it is believed that her triumph will encourage state women to seek political office actively. Well, so I must say a big congratulations to Kogi State history breaker. Of course, that is the first feat a woman has attained politically in Kogi State as the senator, and I must say this is a massive support for the women in Kogi State. This is the world revolving, so it's a big congratulations to Akpoti-Uduaghan. Well, away from that, the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has debunked reports making the rounds on social media and, of course, other media platforms over plans to purchase a presidential yacht worth 5 billion naira. Well, it was earlier reported that the federal government is planning to spend a whopping 5 billion naira to purchase a presidential yacht in 2023 supplementary budget. Now, it was learned that the proposed sum is under the capital expenditure of the Nigerian Navy's budget. According to the breakdown, the Navy will require 62.8 billion for its operations, with recurrent expenditure and capital expenditure gulping 20.4 billion and 42.3 billion naira respectively. While in a statement today, the senior special assistant to the president on media and publicity, Temitope Ajayi, clarified that Tinubu didn't request any yacht and did not need one to perform his functions, considering the current state of the economy. According to him, the request for a yacht was framed in the Navy's budget, and it is assumed that they have an operational reason for it. Now, there's so many questions I would love to ask here, and then trust, this is Nigeria. At the end of the day, if it eventually, whatever the pregnancy is, would get to see at the end, if it is aborted, beautiful. Now, if it is kept, what gender is it going to be? So, I mean, I like the fact that if truly the president is not requiring a yacht following the economic situation of Nigeria, it will be a good one. Then Mr. President is on the right track. But if he is, then we'll need to ask so many questions as well, but also discuss about that. Away from that, I will be touching all the stories. Part of that is that the Senate today approved the 2.176 trillion naira 2023 supplementary budget transmitted to the Parliament by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Tuesday. Well, the budget was approved following the adoption of a report by the Appropriations Committee presented by the chairman, Senator Adeola Olamilekan Ogun West during plenary. Well, President Tinubu had in a letter reading both chambers asked the federal lawmakers to approve the proposal, the second of such this year, after 819.5 billion naira was approved to provide palliatives for poor Nigerians. Now, talking about palliatives for poor Nigerians, I'd like us to remember that ever since we had reports that the Senate or some state had received 2 million naira. I mean, we haven't heard of such things again. And of course, we get to talk about that as well. Well, a detail of the 2023 supplementary budget indicated that, over 1 trillion naira, more than that, was for recurrent expenditure, while another over 1 trillion plus was for billion, not million, for capital expenditure. And of course, we also touched that yesterday, but for today we'll still touch it again. But just to let us know that the Senate has approved it. Well, away from that, the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC president, I would say this is a good news, Joe Ajaro, has been released. And of course, he has narrated his ordeal in police custody after he was arrested in Owerri, Imo State. Well, Ajaro said God must have taken extra time to create him due to, of course, the beating he received while in custody, in police custody. Now, don't forget that some miscreant disrupted in Owerri, Imo State capital. And of course, the NLC president was in Owerri to mobilize Imo workers for a mega protest rally in the state over an alleged violation and abuse of rights and privileges of by the state government. Well, the violence that broke out during the rally to main of the Nigeria police force, whisking away Ajaro. Well, speaking after he was released, Ajaro said the police threatened to drag him to court. Now, there's so many questions as to what may have been the true reason he wants to be dragged to court. We are seeing this come amid labor's demands still on the table. We're also seeing this come amid an end of a 31-day ultimatum. So what is really playing out? Those are some of the questions. If you take a look at the footage on the screen, of course, you would see the NLC president who looks brutalized and bruised. From the look on his face, he must have actually gone through a lot in the hands of those who, arrested him. So this should play out well, because if it doesn't, we are seeing the labor unions and the federal government have a strong banter. Well, away from that, let's head to another story.
Extend the interim order. As interim order elapsed with time. You know, if they had issued a fresh interim order, it's a different thing.
Yes.
You understand? You know, I say, see what we are reading now. You don't read this thing to where some of us are. They don't extend interim order. If it expires within 1 week or two, he should have issued another order.
Yes. Party.
You know, so they kept that letter. They kept that thing they posted to them.
Okay.
That they say, whether do I know that I should this thing they can prosecute me about? I say, well, it is the same court that granted this order that can institute a contempt charge.
Yes.
You know, you can't just now start prosecuting me. My brother.
They were beating you.
They beat me. God must have taken extra time to create me. Ordinarily, kind of beating.
You received.
Okay, so screen you could actually see the bruises on his face. You could actually feel his pains. Well, he has said that they have threatened to drag him to court. And of course, if there's something hiding under this, then we'll get to find out later. Away from that, Nigeria's foreign debt is expected to rise further to about $51 billion following President Bola Tinubu's request to the Senate seeking approval to borrow additional $7.8 billion and, of course, £100 million as part of his 2022 to 24 borrowing plan. Well, some financial analysts have debunked the official reasons given for the borrowing, claiming it was rather meant as a bridging loan to cushion the country's current balance of payment crisis. While Nigeria's foreign debt as of June 2023 was put at $43.2 billion, while domestic debt was put at 54.1 trillion naira, bringing public debt to 113.4 trillion naira. 113.4 trillion naira. You know, that looks big or feels big in my mouth to call as a debt. With the presidential request for a new borrowing coupled with the depreciation of the naira, now the total public debt is forecast to reach 130 trillion naira. The president, in a later address to the Senate yesterday, explained that the request was anchored on an approval given by President Muhammadu Buhari's late administration after a Federal Executive Council FEC meeting earlier in May 2023. Now, if we look at Nigeria's debt profile, I mean, I've discussed that recently with us on this show. I must say it's going to take a whole lot from Nigeria to have what it takes to actually pay back that loan, because we do not even have enough money, you know, that has been allocated to capital projects in our proposed 2024 budget. Well, another story we're looking at, one of the last reports, is that that of the rift between Governor Wike, or former governor of Rivers State, who is now the minister of the FCT, Wike, and of course the governor of Rivers State, Fubara. Well, there are, according to Fubara, the rift, in the middle of the rift, I've been giving us updates right from when it started. And of course, Fubara has said that there is nothing wrong in a father, or for a father and a son to have problems. And he says it will be resolved. That's a good one. While River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has actually expressed optimism that the political rift involving himself and his predecessor, Nyesom Wike, will be resolved. That's a good one. He said there is nothing wrong for a father and a son to actually have problems. And he says that all issues, if any, will be resolved. Wow, if any. I don't want to believe if any. And then we saw, you know, footages of tear gas everywhere and all of the burning of the assembly and all of that. Well, the governor spoke when the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, led a military delegation to the government house in Port Harcourt, the state capital. In the words of the governor, he says, for our dear state, I know everybody's wondering what's going on. What is going on? We are okay. There is no problem. Well, let me take the words of the governor. It says if we have an internal issue, it will be resolved and everything will go back to normal. There is nothing wrong if a father and a son have a problem. If there is any problem, I don't think there is anything. Whatever it is, we'll definitely resolve the issue. Don't forget that the president, Bola Tinubu, and the PDP governors on Tuesday had intervened to stop the impeachment moves against Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara. Now, the president conferred the embattled governor and his predecessor, the minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, at the presidential villa, Abuja, where he tried to settle the dispute amicably. Now, on the other hand, Wike says nobody can take his political structure. He is now the FCT minister, and he has said that no one can actually over his political structure and that he can fight back against anyone fighting him unjustly. He said this yesterday while welcoming governors elected on the platform of the PDP in his office. That is one of the strong issues. The governors were on an intervention mission following the political feud between Rivers State Governor Simi Fubara and the minister who is the immediate past governor of the state. Now, Wike vowed not to allow anyone take his political structure, nothing that he could never be intimidated by anyone. Of course, we know Wike to be one of the strongest politicians over time. Of course, one of the strong PDP fathers that got an APC appointment. Okay, so we just have a video on the screen, so let's listen to the FCT minister.
We have come all the way from the nooks, crannies, meandering creeks and highlands of the Niger Delta, first and foremost to congratulate and solidarize with you on your unique and deserved appointments as the Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. We say your appointment is unique because you are the first Niger Deltan to be so appointed as the substantive minister since Abuja was built. We say congratulations, sir. May we also profusely thank Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for choosing one of our own to occupy this exalted office. We pray that Mr. President will also give you all the needed support and resources to perform maximally as you did in Rivers State, where and when you were governor and called Mr. Project. Honorable Minister, a pertinent area that invites our attention and solidarity with you concerns your recent encounter with Sheikh Ahmed Gumi. Although many people have reacted in various ways to this statement, we feel duty-bound as your brethren, as yours, to also lend our voices. To say the least, Gumi's arrogation of exclusive ownership and monopoly of administration of Abuja by a given ethno-religious region, Obaka Ikwere and all other responsible bodies in the Niger Delta in condemning the attempts.
I appreciate and thank you for this solidarity visit, and to assure you that I've never bothered or worried any day about a statement credited to some people. I have not lost focus and I will not lose focus. I'm going to remain focused to do my work. What is important to me is to support Mr. President to achieve his 8-point agenda of renewed hope. So in course of this work, people may not be happy. Some people may not be happy. Some people will be happy. So you don't expect that everybody will be happy. And when you come to look at it, when a historical appointment was made, so you should not be bothered that people will not react. So I will assure you that I don't even think about it. I don't even know who even made the statement. It's just that as he came now to even say it, if not, I can't remember what.
So we've been listening to the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike speak. Right before the video I had said Nyesom Wike is known as one of the fathers of the PDP and of course a very strong politician. Well, away from that, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has of course on Wednesday said to his ministers, he says his ministers in his cabinet will only retain their offices based on their performances, which will be reviewed periodically. I think this is a good way to lead. Well, he made the assertion when he declared open the 2023 cabinet retreat for ministers, presidential aides, permanent secretaries, and top government functionaries held at the State House Conference Center in Abuja. According to him, he says, if you are performing, nothing to fear. If you miss the objective, we review. If you don't perform, you leave us. Don't be a clog in the wheel of Niger's progress. Well, he noted that his special advisor on Policy Coordination, Hadiza Osman, who will spearhead to provide palliatives for poor Nigerians, 819.5 billion naira. Would you say that this money, 819.5 billion naira, has been accounted for properly? Let's start from there.
And which is given for it to be expended, I have a very big problem with it. What's the whole reason for the palliative thing? It is because of the fact that the federal government wants to cushion the effect of removal of fuel subsidy and the cost of transportation on citizens of the country. And the root cause of it is the absence of refineries in Nigeria to refine crude. And I ask the question, how much is the refinery? How much is a refinery? What does it cost to build a refinery in Nigeria? If we have this kind of money to pay for palliatives, the kind of money that tomorrow you may not even be able to account for. So why don't we invest such money in building refineries and crashing down the price of petrol and making it easy for citizens of the country to transport themselves from one part of the country to another? Can you continue to do this palliative thing for long? We cannot. We certainly cannot. So that is where I have a problem with the issue of palliatives. It is too temporary. We need a permanent solution to this issue. Now, the amount of money in the supplementary budget, so much money, and this has been the culture in Nigeria. Budget will be presented. After that, supplementary budget will be presented. We keep going round and round in circles. And in the budget, projects are being listed, road construction, everything being listed there. And yet we still have and yet that road has been repeatedly budgeted for. So there is a problem with accountability, implementation of the contents of every year's budget. And it is not just about presenting the budget before the national. What we need more now is the last palliative that was given to Nigerian citizens. I think it came 2 months ago, where bags of rice were distributed to villages. Are people still eating those bags of rice? They're not eating it anymore. They had consumed it. So you mean they have to stay hungry and wait for another round of palliatives? That's why I don't believe in palliatives. I feel that as a country, we should have a permanent solution to this issue of fuel subsidy removal. And as a country also, we need to begin to implement the content of the budget and not just the yearly ritual of going for the main budget and later going for supplementary budget, getting approval for expenditure. And at the end of the day, we don't seem to understand exactly how the monies were expended. We need to do things different as a country.
Okay. Now, Melekari says that even if refineries in Nigeria, now talking about refineries now, and prices won't change, what do you have to say about this, or what do we stand to gain?
Let us have them working first. And let me ask Melekari, who is benefiting from Nigeria not refining petroleum products in Nigeria? Is it the NNPC that is benefiting? Are there some people that are benefiting? Why is he putting up that defense now? I rather feel that he shouldn't bring that defense here now. Let us have the refineries first. Why do we have to take our crude to other countries for refining? For those countries that have refineries, the countries that we go to, do they have people working with 2 heads or 3 heads? They work with 1 head, the same with us. So why is it that we cannot have refineries here? Is it not a crying shame that Nigeria, a country that discovered oil before independence, oil was discovered in a library in commercial quantity way back in 1957, 3 years before independence. This is 63 years after independence. So when you add 3 to 63, you have 66 years of oil and gas exploration. And we don't have petroleum, we don't have refinery to refine our petroleum products. And the NNPC is defending that. No, that's a very unfortunate defense. I did not expect to hear that from Melekari. I rather expected to hear Melekari say that the NNPC is poised to have functional refineries in Nigeria so that we can refine our oil. It is not political refineries that we need. You don't take refineries to where there is no source of production. There's no raw material for production. You locate the refineries close to the source of production. That's elementary economics. And that way, we have refineries that are properly intended to refine crude for Nigeria. And that way, Nigeria is going to be able to have this product. I mean, honestly, it embarrasses me as a country, and I mean, as a citizen, and I know that it embarrasses other citizens of the country that we keep moving our crude on a daily basis to other countries, we refine, and we come back with only one product, the upper part of the refining, I mean, the refined product. Do you know that when you refine, a lot of other products are there, we dump them in other countries and they use it to better their lots there. They use it for coal tar, they use it for the pharmaceutical company, because we are not interested in what we should get from the petroleum, industry. I think that Nigeria is kind of managing director of the name.
Well,
We need refineries. That's the truth about it.
Barrister Olaf, German Chancellor, during his visit to Nigeria, concerning that, still voiced out, of course, his concerns about mineral extraction in Nigeria. According to him, he says the country, that extraction in the country often fails to benefit its citizens as it is being extracted and refined in other countries. And of course, fitting people abroad than, Nigeria, that owns the mineral resources. And this is coming from, not a citizen of Nigeria. And then he's concerned that, I mean, imagine me coming to your house and I'm concerned that you're supposed to eat. Every time you keep sending it to my house, you keep harvesting your cassava and you're sending it to my house for processing and then, selling it back to you. I'm getting more than you. It calls for a relook, a rethink, I think we should just re-strategize at this point. Well, let's quickly move away from that so that we can touch all the points we're talking about. The NLC recently, it was reported that Joe Ajaro, the NLC president, was arrested in Imo State, where he went for a protest. And of course, we saw different reactions, different signed memos that the government of Hope Uzodinma